Yo, what's up, dudes? 1:45 a.m. here. Just finished my second cup of coffee. I want to do a video and talk about what I feel. Anything on my channel is my opinion, you know, my views, obviously. That's why it's my channel. Go to another channel and like a totally different views, totally different. That's the beauty of all the, you know, all of us having our own channel and our own thoughts. Now, what I wanted to show, first of all, my channel's knife porn. I'll talk about certain topics and go over certain things, but everything's based on the knife porn. I know that's what I like looking at when I'm, you know, shuffling through YouTube videos. I want to find good knife porn and sometimes good topics to, you know, listen to and possibly learn from. Now, I'm choosing this knife because I want to talk about what I feel makes a good knife, and this is a damn good knife, not just because of the hype. The hype is there for a reason. First off, a couple guys been telling me I never say what the knife is or who makes it. Sometimes I do, but I did notice sometimes I don't. I'll just talk about the knives. I assume people know what it is, and a lot of people don't. So this is a Todd Rexford Injection. It has his hot hammer finish, a Damascus backspacer, awesome clip, no bent spring clip, which I hate. Totally against them. I feel they don't even belong on high-end customs, especially when they're bought. I like, when I want to get a handmade knife, I want everything handmade. I mean, everything custom. That's what it's about to me. I don't want a pivot that I can go buy myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, Rexford is one of them. Most of the guys I collect are like this, but Rexford being one of them, you know, totally custom pivot, custom clip, custom thumb studs, everything. Now, what I want to talk about first, I'll give you a little bit of background. I said this before in my first video where I showed this Rexford. I spoke about how what made me want a Rexford. I was on the internet about probably 3 years ago or so, and I saw one of his knives with the hot hammer finish. Now, I wasn't crazy about the design. I liked it, but I didn't have to have it. But I loved the hot hammer finish so much, I wanted that knife. So I inquired. They weren't selling it, of course. So I, you know, asked who it was. They told me who it was. I went and looked up Todd Rexford's site, and I didn't see the hot hammer finish on this design, but I saw this design. I was like, wow, like I love that design. I love the hammer finish on this knife, but I love this design. So what I wanted was this design with that hammered finish. Now, some years go by, I never heard of him. When I saw the first hot hammered, I never heard of him. I didn't even know who made the knife. So, you know, I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't know he was going to be so hard to get and become so popular. He was not at the fame level that he is today. He wasn't there back then. Unfortunately for me, he got, well, good for him, of course, but unfortunately for me, he got so famous by the time I was able to get one. You know, they're priced so high, so hard to get. Anyway, so some years go by. I scored my Marsh, and now there was only one thing left for me to get. You know, Rexford, I've heard so much about him by this point, and I had to have it even more than I wanted it when I first saw the hot hammer. I mean, you guys heard my story about my Marsh. I wanted that knife so bad, especially that exact one. It's a holy effing grail for me, and I love it so much. So it's hard to top, in my opinion, for me, my collecting, for what I like. It's almost impossible to top, and there's not much left for me to buy that I feel would, you know, hit the spot after having that knife. So where do I go? where else? Rexford. I wanted it before. You know, I fell off a little bit, got sidetracked, went here and there. You know, full circle. I need that Rexford. I still haven't scored it. Long story short, I scored one. Now, when I first opened it, when you first open a knife, a few things can happen. You can open it and be like, damn, it's not the greatest thing in the world. It's not all I expected. That happened to me once. I opened a knife. Before I got the knife, I had pictures sent to me. Sharp by Coop. You all know him. Excellent photography. I saw that knife. I was like, whoa, love it. Can't wait to get that knife. It was custom built for me, but it was way different than what I asked for. But the pictures were amazing. I said, okay, I'll take it. He warned me. He said, it's not what you wanted, so if you don't want it, it's cool. So he sent me pictures, saw it. It's like, awesome, I'll take it. Got the box 3 days later, opened it up. I was like, damn. It looked like a shittier version of the knife in Coop's pictures. So I sent the knife back the next day. That's how disappointed I was, because the pictures were so awesome. When I saw that knife in person, it was a letdown. So that can happen. Or you can open up the box, open the knife and say, it's perfect, I love it. But then as days go on, you might fall out of love. You loved it when you first opened it, but things can happen. You fall out of love, or it grew off of you rather than growing on you. Well, what happened with this knife, now when it was coming on the way, now mind you, I already have my Marsh Vanquish. So in my knife world, I have the best of the best, and I'm talking my knife world and my feelings and what I like. So it's hard to top, and I know what a great knife is. So when I got this, I opened it. I already knew what it looked like, so awesome. It has the hot hammer finish. I opened it. I expected perfection, which it is, but I expected it. So I knew what it looked like. I expected beyond perfect, and it was beyond perfect, so that wasn't like, whoa. It's like I expected that. So it took a little bit of the, how can I say, the first impression. It weakened the first impression because I expected what it was. So I didn't really appreciate the perfection because I expected it. But as the days go on, and as the weeks go on, actually, and I actually mentioned this on Instagram, I said a newfound love, which I'll be back on Instagram soon. They actually took they disabled the people with older phones to be able to use Instagram. So I can't use Instagram until I get a new phone. So I'll get one soon. So now, as the weeks go on, actually a little bit ago, I titled a picture, Newfound Love for this knife. As the weeks go on, I really started seeing why a Rexford is, a Rexford with the angel music. When you first open it, you first get it, I don't know about you. You might not realize at first. It really takes, all you guys that are watching are probably knife, enthusiasts. So it really takes a knife connoisseur to realize why this knife is so good. Most people will see it, open it, look at it, hold it, and hold this, and they'll be the same thing, which is a great knife, but there'll be no difference to them. Note that pivot. See how I could fit a couple hairs in that pivot? Even maybe jam a toothpick in there, in the hole, like the countersunk, or just a hole for the pivot. See how I could jam a toothpick in there? Still, no big deal. It's a great knife, and it is. This knife is so smooth, so nice. Absolutely no stick, no wiggle. Great knife. But over time, when I kept playing with this and looking at it and really paying attention, it takes time to find these subtle perfections. For one, the most obvious that everyone will say, look at that pivot tolerance. I just showed you the how the in that MSC how you could fit a toothpick in there. You couldn't fit a hair in here. Literally, you couldn't put a piece of hair in there. In any of the countersinks, there's no room for anything. Look at the tightness. Now that's one little sign of perfection. Look at the okay, first the centeredness, dead centered, and this knife functions 100% perfectly with it centered. You know how some knives you can get them centered, but now it's not opening right, or it's just a little off in some way. Well, this knife locks up perfectly, opens perfectly with it 100% centered. It couldn't be any more centered. Now look at the tolerances here in the blade. Look at the sides of the blade. It looks like it's rubbing. Look how when this is coming back. Look how tight that is. That is tight, man. You're talking. I don't even know. Look at that, though. You're talking so damn tight. It looks like it's going to hit. Look at that. Just things like that. And I love this here. How this has this little, notch for the stop pin. Perfect lockup. Very solid. The knife has no play at all anywhere. Custom thumb studs. I think I already said that. Has the 6 dots. Nice little touch. Dual thumb studs. The pin, the stripe around the circle. Little detail there. The pocket clip goes over the cutout to the lock bar, so it does stop it if you overextend. Nice pivot collar. Oh, the pocket clip. I think I already said this. I'm not sure. No spring pocket clip. It's a 3D pocket clip. Handmade, hammered. I actually have another one. It's a Timascus one. These standoffs, I should have got a tool. I said that last time. You can, when you unscrew these screws and take them out, these standoffs are so perfectly, the tolerance of the standoffs are countersunk into the frame just a little bit. And they're so tight in there, you can barely get them out. There's no, you know what I'm saying, there's no wiggle. You can almost not get them out without the screws. That's how tight they're pressed in there. And they're not press fit. That's just perfection. Just the design of this knife, I love. And design is a big part of the knife world. I mean, it's, even if you don't realize it, what's drawing you to the knife, besides its function, because most knives function, it's the design. I mean, they look, some knives have no straight lines, like Jeremy Marsh, there's no straight lines. This knife, it's all straight lines. B-line, 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 all straight lines. But I love it. It feels great in the hand. The way this comes out, it's a nice, basically like a finger groove. It does get a little bit fatter back here, just a tad, so it does fit the hand. It feels great in the hand, this knife. Looks simple, but feels great. Check out the inside of the frame. Now, I bet if more makers even just thought of this, because it's not a genius idea, but it is a genius technique or thing to do. Look how the inside of the knife is milled out. There's pockets milled out to make this knife so light. Let me get a flashlight. I bet more people will start doing this. See how they milled out pockets? I was actually thinking of calling up my buddy and telling him, just bringing this to his attention. I know he just got a mill. Maybe something to think about doing. I mean, they just mill it out. It doesn't affect the integrity of the knife. It's just the choice spots, probably thawed out well. See the pockets milled out, and it makes it so light. This knife is so light. I mean, it's all titanium, Timascus backstrap, but it's relatively thick. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not thin by any means. Nice and contoured, rounded on the edges. Perfect contouring to it. Now, this is all hand done. But that milling makes it so light. Like if you guys held this knife in your hand, you'd be like, shit, that is so light. It's weirdly light for what it looks like. You hold it, it's like, whoa. It's like light as a feather. A little bit of milling did it. The contouring's perfect. You can see here how, you know, it's fat back here, it gets thin in the front. No square edges, everything's rounded. You know, that's the basic contouring, just rounding the edges. But you can see how here it gets thin. Almost an arch here, how it gets thick up to the tip. There's really nice sculpting going on. It's not just two slabs cut out and hammered. There's way more to it. And he's not just, you know, rounding the edges. There's more to it. He's actually, you know, molding the scales. See how they go down on the edges. Really nice contouring. It's just a great knife, and it's not all hype. There's a reason there's so much hype, and it actually took me a few days to really discover why. I didn't just open and say, "Oh my God," you know, jump on the bandwagon. At first, you know, I was investigating, like, let's see why. Why did he become, you know, so famously popular for being basically the best? A lot of people vote Todd Rexford as the best of the best. And man, I really do understand. I do. I mean, a folding knife isn't the most complicated thing in the world. But for everything that a folding knife does, this really does it. You can't get any better. I don't know what you could do to make a knife better. I love how there's no name. Both sides of the blade. This isn't a billboard. We all hate the frickin', you know, advertisements. It's in a nice spot right there. Perfect spot for the logo. Nothing on the whole knife. But you know who it is. Alright guys, I guess that's about it. When I open this, I like to, you can see the detent. Watch how it, see how it sucked it in there? There's absolutely zero play. You know, zero. Nothing. Most knives, when it's shut, you can either push it in, it'll bounce back out, just a hair. I'm not talking much, I'm talking a hair you'll feel. Or you can pull it up just a little bit and feel a little bit of knocking, just a tiny bit. This has nothing. Neither does, the Marsh doesn't either. But we're talking about this one, and this one has nothing, there's no play. It actually like locks shut. This knife will never fly open. But since the detent's so good, for one, it does cause the knife to flick open good. But also, when I want to go smoothly like this here, I don't shut it all the way. When I just feel like feeling the smoothness. Because when I shut it all the way, you know, my thumb jerks to get the detent out, and then it screws up my smooth motion. But I like to go like that, just feel the smoothness. Now this knife is exceptionally smooth. It's not fast. There's a difference. What I mean by that is, okay, you can see how it swings freely when I, you know, release the lock bar tension. But when the lock bar is tense, it has a smooth friction. Like, see how it's not really shutting on its own? Because it's not fast. But it has a friction, but a smooth, flawless friction, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, you know, rubbing clay. Like, imagine you have a little bit of clay on your hand, you rub it on glass. You know what I'm saying? How it's friction, but it's flawless, it's smooth. That's how this is. That's why I shut it like that, because like I said, I like to feel that nice action. It's so nice to feel. It does feel like it's like smushing warm clay. There is a little bit of stick with this knife. I really don't mind it, as long as it's not hard and painful. A little bit of stick like this, listen, that's nothing. It's a solid lockup is what it is. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to carbonize it, that's for sure. Fuck that. Elmax blade, you know it's done right. Todd knows his Elmax. He uses it all the time. Just a beautiful masterpiece from Todd Rexford. I love this knife. I had to give it another overview because I didn't give it enough time last time. It deserves more. I'm going to do my Marsh again too because I know I showed them before, but to me they're really special knives and they deserve more than your average, you know, regular 1-2 time video. Alright guys, that's it. Polish her up. It's one thing about a hand rub finish. I love hand rub finish. It's my favorite finish. You can see my Marsh has it too. Love my hand rub finishes. But you definitely got to have your Aegis rag nearby if you got hand rub. But I don't mind. I actually like rubbing it. So that's no problem for a guy like me. It's always like this. And when I touch it, I'll pick up that rag again and wipe it off again. The blade tapers. You can see how it tapers. And when you rub your hand against it, your fingers, you can feel it. You feel it tapering down. Even down here at the end of the grind, you feel it tapering as it goes forward. Alright guys, thanks for listening to my ramble. Thanks for checking me out and taking a look at my knives. I enjoy sharing them and I love seeing yours too, so comment. I always respond. I respond to everyone. And have a good day. Peace.